Well, welcome back to Women Talk. I'm your host, Kimberly Ewing. And today we're going to be talking about female leadership that is assertive but likable. And that's kind of a hard combination. And today we have someone who kind of exudes that. Her name is Jessie Laux, a beloved member of our community. She is the director of Nevada City Film Festival, and she works for the Presidio of San Francisco. She also owns her own media firm. Welcome, Jessie Laux.
Hi, Kim. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So when we talk about females in leadership and being assertive, all of those, sometimes people get easily judged and quickly judged. Even sometimes considered, if you're assertive as a female in leadership, some people could even call you a bad word, right? And we've heard those, not you, but I have. And what I guess I'm looking for today is, we're looking for characteristics and practices for assertive leaders in our community that are female. And Jessie happens to be one of those people. Every time I'm in town, Jessie, if I say your name, it's beloved and admired, and that's not always the case for a lot of people in the community that are female. We're just easily judged, I think, as females, unfortunately. Even from our own people, from females too. And I think that's one thing that is hard, is to be an assertive, effective leader as a woman. There's a finesse to it, don't you think?
Yeah, I think women judge women harder than men judge women or women judge men for whatever reason. But for me, I think it's more about the merit of your work and the quality of your work. And I have always believed that, I'm only as good as like my last project, my last film festival, my last, story, whatever it may be. But for me, it's like I really think the work should stand for itself, and I don't need to necessarily, speak beyond that.
I know, and it's so true. Like, that's probably the best answer, is just saying how you do the work and how the work is produced. And oftentimes, when I'm learning about myself and being a female that's excitable and passionate, I'm often misunderstood. And I'm looking to you because you have a practice of, well, let me tell you, I did some homework. You want to hear it? Okay. Some qualities of women that are assertive and effective in leadership are, and we'll talk about these: direct communication. Mm-hmm. Women often beat around the bush, but actually direct communication is highly regarded. Active and reflective listening, really big. Care about the people around you, which I think women are naturally nurturing and loving and caring, but sometimes when we're in our business head, we forget. Praise and generosity. Praise the people that are helping things happen, and be generous, which I know, we'll talk about that, because Jessie's one of the most generous people I know. Acknowledgement of your team. This one's huge. Taking constructive criticism and applying it to be an improvement of yourself. And the last one, setting boundaries.
Yes, that one I fail at, but
well, that's why I put it last, because I feel like all the first ones you nail. Yeah. Like direct communication, you do it with a style, but I appreciate how, like, we've worked together and we're maybe going to work in the future, but it's like direct and honest with each other helps everybody get clear.
Yeah. Well, my background's journalism, and so
that helps.
Yeah. I think it was, so much of what I've learned through the years is just what I learned in school. It's like if you are trying to communicate something to someone, and it could be through the written word or verbally or via media, with film or television, it's really trying to be clear and concise, so there isn't necessarily a lot of room to stray from maybe whatever that directive is. But I also think that it's interesting to see how people hear things differently too, So like, you may say something one way, but it gets, goes in a different way.
Right, because everybody has...
Yeah, it's interpreted a different way.
Exactly.
So I think, just kind of like how, you can get succinct on your message, and then also the delivery of it's really important. I think there's all those kind of like fun social media things now that's like, don't write your your email with like, could you, would you, please, I always try, they say things, email doesn't have tone, but I still think it's like important to have be generous and kind in your emails, but also like, put, if you want to get it done, like you've got a specific date and time. And so there isn't a lot of like, question about that.
Right.
But I think the active listening is really important. It's so, as someone who is directing a lot of people or working with a lot of groups of humans, really listening and not being the one who is always talking in the room is really, really important. And I always get frustrated when I myself are in meetings and I'm like fighting to, have a say about
You're like,
it.
me.
Yes. and I'm like, you guys, you need to do better active listening, you learn so much more and it's so much easier to read the room and understand where people are coming from and realize like maybe, if I'm trying to, figure out where everybody is best placed and how we can accomplish our goals. I think that's where active listening really comes in. But also just treating humans like how you'd want to be treated is really important. And I think that's for, female, male, whatever. It's,
right. The golden rule, right?
Yeah.
Treat others as you wish to be treated.
For sure. And I have always been a little bit more old school about, you pet the baby when it's sleeping kind of thing, where I'm not over generous with, my compliments, because I really think like we should always work to do better.
Sure.
Like the standard is not okay. I don't think that like we're not here. This isn't like a dress rehearsal. This is the only like, X amount of years we have on the planet. So it's like you got to put your best foot forward. And so I'm not here to like, this isn't like a
overly praise.
Yeah, this isn't a run through for me. This is like we're getting things done and we're doing it and we're accomplishing stuff and I think like my team that I work with know that, and they know that I'm not being mean or just I'm not being like difficult for difficult sake. It's just like I think that once you achieve something, you do something really well, and you give the praise, then it's hard earned and hard won, So
that's
it's
a good point.
So then people realize like, it just doesn't happen. It's not like you wiggle your nose and some like magic happens. Like it takes time and it's hard work and it takes a lot of people to accomplish things. And
for sure.
So it's the whole team that, and then everything's teamwork. And I always say like filmmaking and film festing, anything in life, it's like it's all in a group effort, and it's really trying to extract everybody's best qualities from one another to make a great product, whatever that product may be.
Right. And I think with your active listening and finding on your team the talents that they have, that's a skill, Jessie, because some people will come to you and say, these are my skills, and you're like, but actually this is actually a more powerful skill or a quality that you have because you see them in a more neutral sense than themselves. I think that's another power of leadership too, or the ability to be a good leader.
Yeah, we have a mutual friend, Jennifer Singer, and she taught me the Gallup skills for change, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like you have 5 different attributes that are your strongest, right? And, I wasn't till I was probably like 35 or something when I learned them. And it really made a huge difference to me, because then I understood why I did the things that I did, or why I thought the way I did, or why some things were really hard for me and I didn't excel at them, no matter how hard I tried. And so, it's just like, one of the things is strategic, and strategic thinking is something that I've always loved and I've really done well with. And that is like figuring out how everything works together. The other thing is futuristic, where I'm always kind of looking forward. I really very rarely are present. I never ever look behind.
That's really probably pretty smart though.
Yeah. So like I'm always like, oh, how can we make things better? How can we do, this, that, the other? Input is another one of the skills, and input is like taking a lot of information and figuring out how you distill it into down to the core of like what we're trying to do or what you're trying to express. And so, I think and then of course being a learner, like I always love to learn about, what's going on and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's, that level of like curiosity is really important. But so like when you put all those kind of things together, it made sense why, I would get frustrated when things would take too long. Or
so true. So true.
Yeah. Or like, if people didn't understand my vision, right? Like I obviously hadn't communicated it clearly. So, those are all things that we get to work on while we
and I'm laughing
live our life.
Yeah, and I'm laughing. I wasn't laughing and agreeing with you. I was saying things like I work for, I'm a teacher, so everything works at a very slow rate. So I was just echoing what you were saying.
No.
Not that you get upset because things are going too slow.
No.
But I commiserate with you on that. And what do you think about? You did say setting boundaries. Mm-hmm. Women, I feel that we've been having to feel compelled to say yes to everything and be super women, and we are. We're Wonder Women a lot, but we too are human, and so what is something about that? Because I have a hard time setting boundaries too, although I've gotten much better at saying no, thank you. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, I was raised by one, so she, my mom always did a million things. She was a great mom, but she also worked full time and she had, a really important job.
Yeah, right.
And she also like made cupcakes for school and all that kind of stuff. So it's like on one hand, I saw that, so obviously I learned that. I was the eldest daughter, so obviously you take on responsibility there. Like I'm a Virgo, so like I have that level of conscientiousness and just like always, being very particular about how things are and kind of overly thinking most everything. And I think just, a combination of all those kinds of things. And then I also think like we grew up in a time that was very goal oriented, where school was like from an early on age, it was like you go to college, and so I think we were all striving to achieve, and going to college meant also like playing sports and excelling in activities and clubs, and so I think it's a different way for how kids are raised now versus like for our generation. So I mean, that all combined made for a perfect storm of having no boundaries, because and also I think, I like so many things and I'm so interested by it that just to do one, it would be really boring.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so it's like I couldn't think of anything worse than sitting in an office with no window, and not to like, like I'm sure there's plenty of people that's cool for them. But yeah, I mean, the boundaries are really important, especially as you get older and, maybe you have children or you have, you're taking care of your parents or, there's other things going on in your life. But, trying to find like those little pockets that like help, like feed your soul or refuel you or reset you or, whatever you can do. And if that's like 5 minutes of like reading the paper or like
whatever,
and having cocktails with your friends or whatever it is. It's like, I think that it's just as long as you seek that stuff out, it's good, and I say that, but I should do a better job of it. But I do, I actively try more and more.
I know. And on that note, any last thoughts? Because we've talked about direct communication, reflective, active listening, caring about others, praise when appropriate, generosity, acknowledgement, taking constructive criticism, and of course, lastly, setting boundaries, which I think we are getting even better at as we age, right?
Yeah. I don't think any of us like become leaders. Like, I don't think you wake up and you're like, I'm going to be a leader today. I think these are roles that we take on because of, maybe just natural attributes or, things that we excel at. But I think leaders are so important, and they come in a wide range of kind of like the leader.
For sure. The styles even.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I think the most important is just for people to care about other people, care about the planet, care about animals and plants and all those kinds of things, but also be active in wanting to do good or wanting to make a change. And it doesn't need to be a huge thing. It can be small things. Just like being a leader doesn't mean you need to be the leader of the United States or the county or the city or whatever it is. It's like just, maybe it's you're the one in their friend group that like helps organize everything or like bring people together. Or maybe it's you and your family that, you're the one who kind of steps up to like, support people in your family when they really need it.
Yeah.
But I think it's just, one thing that's very unique about leadership is I know that I fought it for a really long time because it is, extra responsibility. And though I've never been shy of taking on responsibility, it does, there's something that you may like, think once or twice about. But it makes you feel really good too. Like it really does, like the more you do and the more you do for others, it does really fill your well too. Like yes, it is, life is exhausting, but when you see, and it's a little bit addicting too, because it's like you get to see all the good stuff that you're doing and you're like, oh, I could do more, or if more people knew this or thought this, and so I think leadership is something that we should all lean into in our own way.
Right. And on that note, I always say, if you're a good leader too, and this is Jen Singer's words, because she was on last episode of Women Talk, it's about getting those ideas and then saying, and now you do it. Delegating, right? To be able to delegate and have that collaborative effect.
Yeah.
But the leader is always there to help run the ship, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that it's someone who has like experience. It's also someone who has, can deduct information quickly and make decisions that, some people have a hard time at. Like I have friends that like can't decide where to eat dinner.
Right, indecisiveness.
Yeah, and so it's okay. I think some of us, are better at certain things than others, but also once you learn that, like I did when I learned my, skills for change, is that, wow, these are like my superpowers. And instead of like, shying away from them, I could really, use them for the betterment of not only myself, but for, everything around me.
That's true. Thank you, Jessie Laux, for being here, and it's true. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on Women Talk. Thank you.